Number 1.
Creep at school. I will start this by saying that I was absolutely stupid, but was just starting college and wasn't too wise to the world then. But this story started out fine. I was preparing, years ago, to start my first semester at college. I was a few months away still, but wanted to get a head start on meeting friends that went there. I downloaded a few chat/social media apps. I was used to a few guys trying to flirt, but then there was this guy, a cute ex-marine who was going to the school I was about to start at. I'll call him C. We started talking and doing some innocent flirting, but then he started to creep me out, so I started ignoring him. Months, maybe a year goes by, and no sign of C. One day, I'm in the bookstore. I used to hang there between classes since I loved it, and I see a man that looks identical to C's picture. I didn't want to meet him, so I tried to camouflage myself and scurry over to the other side of the store. Suddenly, he comes right into the aisle I am in and starts staring right at me. I immediately knew he recognized me. Great. He started with small talk. Then this girl, she was a furry, with tail and all, comes by and starts talking his ear off. I think this is my chance to get away, but then he tells me to stay. Keep in mind, I'm a small girl at 100 pounds and 5'3". This very intimidating man is freaking me out, so I listened. She left us after a bit, and he started asking me when we were going to hook up. I told him that I really needed to pay for my stuff and go to class. Begrudgingly, he walked out. I watched him. I thought the coast was clear. I paid for my stuff and went out the other exit that connects to a different building and sat on a couch before making the long walk to class. Next thing I know, he comes and sits right next to me, scooting closer as he speaks. He tells me how I've been a tease for not having sex with him, and he's practically touching me now. I told him how I never intended to have sex with him, and all the while hoping someone would hear what was going on, but they didn't, so I grabbed my bags in case I needed to run. It's at this point when shit got really scary for me. C stands up and is literally less than an inch from my face. He says,
You know, I could just lift up my shorts and show you my cock, and no one will see it or believe you.
And that's when he actually did it. I was terrified and now trapped. I think he saw my fear and was amused, so he laughed and took a step back. I saw an opportunity, so I ran out of there. I saw him twice over the years, but thankfully he didn't see me. I know I should have reported him to the university police, but I had no proof, and his words about people not believing me took over my mind for the longest time.
Number 2.
So when I was in probably 2nd or 3rd grade, we had an early dismissal. For those of you who don't know, that's when school goes for longer than half a day, but we still get out an hour or so early. I remember sitting silently in class working on math problems when the phone rang. I joked to my friend next to me that I hoped it was for me. We all watched the teacher answer the phone because we knew that 90% of the time it meant that somebody was leaving class. When the teacher's eyes met with mine, I suddenly got pretty worried. I was an anxious kid, so I immediately thought that somebody had died. My teacher said something into the phone and then asked me, "Bob 4786, when are you getting off the bus today?" I thought this was really weird. My mom knew when I would be getting home because she had to leave work early, so she'd be home when I got home. I just told the teacher the normal time. The teacher talked for a few more seconds and hung up the phone. I asked her what it was about, and she told me that my parent just wanted to double check what time I got off the bus. I didn't really think about it too much for the rest of the day. Later, I got off the bus and walked home without incident. When I walked in my front door, my mom asked me about my day and took my coat. I remember the look on her face when I asked her, "Why did you call the school this morning to see what time I was getting off the bus?" She looked shocked. She said that she hadn't called the school. I told her the whole story, and she immediately started making frantic phone calls. I knew that something was wrong. I watched some TV while my mom talked. About 20 minutes later, my stepdad came home early from work. About 10 minutes after that, a state trooper pulled up. I was pretty scared because I thought somehow I was in trouble. The state trooper asked me a few questions like, "Has anyone tried to talk to you while you've walked from the bus stop? Have you seen anyone parked at the bus stop who didn't have a kid get into their car? Has anyone tried giving you a ride?" The answer to all of his questions was no. I had never seen anyone suspicious as we lived in a pretty nice neighborhood, and it was mostly old retired folk who lived around us. My mom asked me to go upstairs and pack my bag, as it was my dad's weekend for visitation. When my dad got there to pick me up, he was questioned pretty heavily by the state trooper. I had been eavesdropping from upstairs. My mom called me back down and I left with my dad for the weekend. My dad ended up teaching some basic self-defense, which I thought was pretty cool. I never heard anything about the situation, and eventually I forgot about it. Fast forward to today. I had been listening to Lazy Masquerade on YouTube and he narrates a lot of stories from here. I then remembered the whole incident. I asked my mom about it, and what she told me chilled me to my core. She told me that somebody had called my school posing as my dad. This man knew my dad's full name, my full name, and my mom's full name. He kept saying that my mother wanted him to pick me up from the bus stop because she wasn't going to be able to leave work early. The school didn't even bother calling my mother. I believe that the only thing that saved me from being abducted was the fact that I told the man that I'd be getting off the bus at the normal time, which was around 3:15. I had actually gotten off the bus at around 1:45. So creepy guy who wanted to abduct me, let's not meet. I'm a lot bigger now and I don't think you'll have an easy time trying to abduct me. After reading what I had written here, I tried to look at it from an outside perspective. I realized that this guy had probably either been a family member or a family friend. This scares me even more because our family lives in the same house, has the same family members, and the same family friends. I have a little brother the age that I was back then. After talking to my mom again, she told me that she was pretty sure it was that abusive ex-boyfriend that I talked about in the comments. I guess the guy straight up told her that he was going to kidnap me after they broke up.
Number 3.
My Stalker in the 8th Grade by Pancake. I recently found this sub. By recently, I mean less than an hour ago, and decided on posting a story that I usually repress, but every so often comes flooding back to my memory. In the 8th grade, I had a stalker, one that I never saw, and one that never said anything in malice towards me. Back in the 8th grade, probably halfway through the school year, I received a phone call from an unknown caller. Usually, I wouldn't answer for a phone number that I didn't recognize, or sometimes I would do so in an accent, but I would always hang up after a second or two. Things changed, however. When the second I answered, I heard a man say my full name in a questioning tone, like if he was asking for confirmation that it was me. being a kid and thinking it was one of my parents' friends or someone who I could talk to, I told him it was me. A big mistake, but I didn't know at the time. The first phone call I don't remember much of, except that he hung up not long after I said that it was me. Some time passed, maybe less than a week, when I got an unknown phone call again. I didn't answer, and then I kept getting spam calls, so I finally answered, and this guy was asking me about what shows I like to watch. I got the idea that maybe I shouldn't be talking to this guy, so I just hung up. Not much longer, another couple of calls came in until I said to stop calling me, and he responded something to the effect of hanging up mid-conversation is rude. My dad heard me and asked me who I was talking to, so I told him that I didn't know and handed him the phone. My dad asked who this was and to stop calling my number in his angry dad tone. Then he got a confused face for a second before getting really angry and shouting at them before abruptly hanging up. My dad later told me that this person knew my father's name, Carlos, and had told him,
"Don't be so angry, Carles,"
before hanging up. Pretty soon, these calls would happen at least once a day, and I would almost always hand the phone over to my dad for him to yell at this guy. We told all of our friends and family to stop if they were prank calling me. We tried getting the police involved, and we also contacted my middle school saying that there was a guy being creepy with me. The guy never called during school hours, and he usually would call first when I was home alone, but soon switched it up to calling around the time my father got home from work. This guy sounded young. For a long time, we thought my uncles or their friends were playing pranks on us. He sounded maybe mid to late 20s and sounded sort of Latino, never had an angry tone, and never said anything malicious. But he was a stalker, and he knew the names of my parents, sisters, my dogs, some cousins, and my grandparents. He never called us when we had company over, and it was never after like 8 p.m. At one point, I was sitting in my room and got a call. By this point, it was nearing the last few weeks of school, and because this guy never said anything bad, and the police said that there was nothing they could do, I just answered the phone and asked what he wanted. I remember, clear as day, he was listing off video games: Red Dead Redemption, Modern Warfare 2, Halo 3, etc. I looked to my disc stand and saw he was reading off the list in the order my games were, top to bottom. I stood up and looked out the window, but no one was there. After the list was done, I just stood there, and he told me something about me having good taste in games, and that we should play sometime. At this moment, I was scared shitless. I cried and called my dad. He came home early, and we realized, like idiots, that we could just change my number. We changed my number, and I purged my Facebook account, and we set all of our accounts to private. Maybe 6 months later, we moved, and after changing the number, I never got any calls from this guy. The reason I came to tell the story is because I've been getting unknown numbers calling me for the past couple of days, and I never answer them anymore. But telling my girlfriend about it, she reminded me about the guy. So I will be changing my number soon as a precaution. Any questions I will answer, because there are a few stories I left out due to length. Hey guys, Psychotic Maniac here. I found some stories to show you how scary school can be, so don't go back. Just kidding, stay in school, kids. I want to give a really big shout out to Jack_Spooky for doing this collab with me. I suggest you go check out his channel for more creepy content. More collabs are on their way, so stay tuned. I also want to give a huge thank you to Rainbot for featuring my channel in her creepy YouTube channel showcase. She displayed many great horror YouTubers from various topics, so go give it a watch on her channel. Rainbot makes videos about crime and horror similar to Rob Dyke's Seriously Strange. They're pretty fucking awesome. I will link both Jack's and Rainbot's channels in the description. Tell them that I sent you, and spread the love to all things creepy. Thanks for watching, be safe, and remember, everyone is a tad bit insane.